Hello and welcome to What Have We Learnt? Incidental learnings from interesting people. I'm Ben Punter here at the Edinburgh Fringe 2019. On this episode, Rhiannon and Sally, who are an award-winning musical comedy double act, Stiffandkitsch. Their show Bricking It is at the Pleasant Courtyard every day at 2 p.m. in Bunker 3. That's the row just on the way down towards the Pleasant Grand. It's at the Fringe now, so you may want to book soon because they have been selling out shows. Myself and two friends who got in, we were the very last people to get in on that day. So if you're at the Fringe, do book now. You can also find out more about them and their music by going to their social pages. It's at Stiffandkitsch on social. That's the word and on social media. And also you can find some of their music on Spotify and on YouTube. And Kitsch is Kitsch, or head to stiffandkitsch.com. So we had a chat on the wettest day in August in Edinburgh. So we dived into the wine bar at the Pleasant Courtyard, right at the heart of the Fringe, and we talk about the comedy landscape, the importance of a show name, and badges. What have we learnt with Sally and Rhiannon, Stiffandkitsch? Nice. Sally, Rhiannon, Stiffandkitsch, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah, not bad.
How's your Edinburgh Fringe 2019 going?
It's been good.
Yeah, it's all right.
So it's like, what are we in now? Like 9 days in?
9 days in feels like we're 20,000 days in. I don't know.
Yeah, the first week I guess is always the longest, isn't it? Where you're trying to like rework, change, fix things.
And it started really early this year as well. So because it started in July, you have this deceptive. It is actually quite a long stretch, but no, we're getting into the swing of it now, which is nice.
Has much changed now in the last 9 days from the 9th of August? Has much changed now since that first show?
Massively.
A fair bit. Because we were a little bit long when we turned up. The show was running a little bit long, so we cut about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
a lot of like things have moved around. I think a little
we
bit.
restructured it a little bit. A lot changed in the first couple of days. Those previews were very needed and very welcomed.
And like a lot of tech stuff. There's a lot of tech stuff in the show with the music and with
the audience or reactions to certain
That's it.
jokes.
You never know,
and
it's especially when you're working with like tracks and voiceover. You don't know where you don't know yet where the laughs are going to really come.
So
you need
a bit more space in the songs or whatever.
So how long have you come to Edinburgh?
This is our
fourth year.
Our fourth year. Last year we did a kind of a half. A week-long run, like a cheat year.
We get to come up at the Fringe, but it's not really hard work.
So this is our third full Fringe, together, yeah.
And then as visitors to Edinburgh?
I came up in, after drama school, I came up and did, my first year I did an audition for a play, and it was a two-hand, all-female version of Shakespeare's Henry V.
Of course. Nice.
I mean, I don't think you could get a more Fringe-sounding show than an all-female two-hander. And also, you played
all the other parts. I didn't play Henry. I played all of the other parts.
And then you went into comedy.
And then I just thought, wow.
What's so special about an Edinburgh audience compared to other audiences when you're like doing previews and stuff?
I think it's the variety. Like in London. When we do shows in London, it's a lot of people who come who I think know us and know what they're coming to, or even if you do stuff in like Soho and stuff, it is a very big comedy audience who kind of know what they are coming to.
Signing up for, whereas here people are sometimes just coming in because it's raining, or they wander in and think, oh, that looks like a fun name of a show, I'll go and sit in it, so they don't actually know what they're expecting at all, and they'll have come from something bizarre and be going to something bizarre and maybe find your show bizarre for an hour as well. So, so you're warming them up a lot more and a real range of ages. And, I think the demographic is much wider here. People, just tourists on holidays or real hard Fringe goers who are
But it's a good way to figure out, like, what jokes are, like, your like, gold jokes. If they get, and then some days there's some that will get big laughs one day or big laughs the other day, and then the ones you can filter through then what it really is funny and what is just dependent on who's in the audience.
Yeah.
And much more, I think it's much more like a touring audience when you tour, you get much more that sort of thing. So it's a good kind of precursor to that as well, warming you up for that.
Yeah.
You sort of have to warm them into the idea of a comedy show first of all, and then a real range. So you get families coming and older people and younger people and couples, and I think it's a much more diverse crowd potentially than we'd usually play to.
And we're learning a lot this year that the last two years we've done a nighttime show. So we've done like a 9:40 like late night show. Where, you know, it's obviously just a completely different atmosphere. Like, people are drinking, people are kind of up for a night out kind of thing. So doing a daytime show again has been really interesting, just to kind of, the first few days we were sort of a little kind of shook by it. We were like, it's just adapting to a different, I guess, like a matinee every day kind of show.
First show of the day, they're still waking up, or they're still hungover from last night's shows. So it's been this year in particular has been like we've been kind of learning a lot from audiences, and we have a little like a gap in the where we can see out as people come in, and it is just I'm like obsessed with like seeing who's coming in and being like trying to see like how do we think this like. What will this be like today?
Because also it's mentioned in the show as well that you were kicked out. Is that true? Is that a part of it? Because I know because you mentioned it being a later show originally.
Yeah.
Well, those are. It's all. It is true. We've kind of expanded the story.
We've expanded the story a bit, and
sadly,
it is just. No, they haven't banned us from doing late night shows. We actually are doing an earlier show because it was a new show we wanted to try it. But we did have a drunken, an overexcited night out.
Overexcited,
an over indulgent night out at the end of the festival. But it's hard because you finish so late when you do a late night show, and then all of a sudden it's 3 a.m. and you're like, how did this happen?
It's impossible. This Fringe time just seems to work differently to normal time.
Because you're full of energy as well. You're full of adrenaline.
That's exactly.
You're all buzzy.
Yeah.
You talk to one friend and then it's
and then everyone the middle of the night.
No, like, that's because it's a thing. Like, sure.
Exactly.
So the show's called Bricking It.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So it's sort of about it's our kind of take on fear and anxiety, that feeling of waking up after a night out and having this like hungover dread of, oh God, what have I been doing? Except that expanded to like 30 years of living. And we kind of focus in on Sally turning 30 and I guess some of the stuff that goes with that. But just generally what
just
all
kind
the
of
things
worries and stuff as well. Like I was a very like relaxed, I would say like child, teenager in my 20s. I was never nothing really fazed me or stressed me out. And then in the last couple of years I just started getting like this sense of just worry about everything. I started worrying about everything, people, hell, everything. I don't know where it came from. It just sprung up out of nowhere, and it was sort of that thing. I was like, what is this? And is this something that just happens when you get older, or have I just avoided it for 30 years and now I'm
lucky.
Like, I was lucky and now I'm like doomed with it. So it's that kind of thing, and that sense of, and the sense of like worrying about things. Everyone worries about things, and actually I guess there's no real answer to that, because there are things to worry about. There's never going to be like you can never solve every problem. So it's how do you kind of, I guess,
what
deal with that,
to live day by day,
and then kind of.
And where's the origins of that start from, like this time last year, the end of the last year's Fringe? How far back does this idea go?
Well,
we had lots of discussions about this when we were writing, because I've always been a crazy anxious child. Like my poor parents when I was a kid. Going on holiday was a nightmare because I didn't like flying, but I also didn't like ferries. I wasn't great on like cars and trains. I was a pretty impossible child. So I've always been very anxious about stuff, nervous as a kid. But certainly Sally.
I went through this phase last year where I just turned into like a complete hypochondriac. Like it was extreme.
And I am a hypochondriac, but it was like unreal.
And I just was convincing myself. I was like constantly going to the doctor, and there was nothing wrong. I don't know what it was, and it really took me by surprise, because I'd never ever felt anything like that before. I was like,
and I kept being like, do you think maybe it's just like you're stressed? It's just anxiety. Like, no, but there's something physically wrong with me.
I just couldn't comprehend that it was just like being anxious about things, because I just had never experienced it. So I was like, it can't be that. It's definitely something else.
And you cover all those sort of subjects throughout the songs and the sort of story.
Yeah.
But also the good thing is like all the songs kind of you can take them out and have them standalone songs, and they actually still work on their own.
Yeah.
On their own.
Well, we kind of consciously tried to do that this year because our previous show was a much more of a story, and the songs sort of fed
very
the
embedded
story
in it,
and kind of moved the story along, and they weren't very like alone, like set pieces on by themselves. A few of them were, but not really. So we wanted this year to have that, because I guess doing comedy as well, you always want to be able to like
gig stuff
and do little sections from things. And with the last show, we weren't really able to do that as much because it was very much a set piece, the whole thing.
They made sense in context of the show, but hopefully these ones are a little bit more. Here's an idea and here's a song on it.
And with the writing of the show, what songs takes the longest to write?
Which songs took the longest?
Yeah, and then also what song takes the longest to learn?
Wow, well, we were learning them right up to the deadline.
We're still learning some of them.
What was the hardest to write?
Well, the first song we wrote was the Fear song.
We wrote that really early on,
that was really early on, which is kind of encompasses all the crux of everything we're worried about, and is fairly early on in the show, sets everything up. So we wrote that one, and that was quite easy to write. Maybe just because we're terrified of everything, so it came quite easily.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.Maybe the hardest one I think might have been
Blue.
Yeah, we changed the Blue song quite a lot because also we hadn't, we written a lot of the songs, and then we were trying to find like the kind of story and the journey, and then you kind of get to that point, and you don't know yet where you're going or what you're trying to say. So
it felt really important to get it right, because it was about that kind of the feeling you have of like, oh, I don't feel great, but it's not big and dramatic. It's just a kind of small little. It's a feeling that you're trying to explain. So we talked a lot about how we wanted to approach that, and that took a lot of reworking.
And also the final song. We always leave our final song to like
the very last minute, like too
minute.
Late.
Like
some people
day
might
off
say
the
it's too
preview,
late.
last preview. Just like we did about 3 previews without no final song, because you just wanted to kind of tie everything together and have a kind of a nice message, or not message, but a nice kind of uplifting ending.
Yeah.
And something that made sense for the show, and it's hard when you've not written the whole show to know what the end of the show is.
You're sending people back out into the sun or the rain. What was that?
That's
what that was.
That was kind of the last one.
And then you got badges made for them as well.
We got badges made,
Yeah.
Oh,
yes. And then like you now take away that message, and now you can like actually take away that message.
Literally,
it's just nice. I think because I think what's important for us doing our shows or writing whatever is that we get a lot of people coming up to us afterwards, like with the kind of being like, oh, that happened to me, or I felt that, or I did that, and there's a real nice kind of sense of people feeling that they're not like alone in their kind of in their anxieties or their worries or their whatever, and I think that's kind of what we like with our audiences. Always are so lovely, and like
they really are, and people come time and time again, which astounds us. Every time someone turns up and says, I've seen you 3 times before, you think, oh, that's incredible, and we like to kind of build a bit of a community around it as much as we can.
So who's your inspirations musically and comedically?
Musically and comedically, well, in terms of musical comedy, a massive fan of like Tim Minchin, Bo Burnham, Victoria Woods. There was a sort of slightly eclectic taste, but I think Flight of the Conchords, you kind of mesh them and you find somewhere in the middle there might be where we sit. They're all absolute geniuses.
And I'm a massive fan of like sketch comedy as well. It's kind of my thing. So I love a lot of like I love a lot of the kind of American like SNL stuff, and like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, and just kind of like those kind of women who are just being silly, doing them and just like silly and fun and not and that kind of just relatable idea of they're just sort of can not represent, but you can relate to them more than I guess other people, or not comedians, but in other areas or other industries or entertainment industries that you can't really find relate to as much. So
they are great. I think what's especially great about them is their women in comedy, it's obviously people talk about it quite a lot, but like they're not afraid to be big and silly and ugly and over the top. Make themselves look like idiots, and I think we like that. Try and do that a bit in what we do. We're not.
Especially the people that you mentioned as well. They are sort of known for being big and out there and doing them.
That's really it. And not being afraid to not trying to fit a mold or fit a certain thing or
be cool
or not trying to be cool or trying to be like have be like deep or sincere or have important things to say. They're still saying important things through just being silly and fun and and having
So where do you guys meet?
We met at drama school.
Yes.
But we weren't in the same year, and we didn't really know each other very well at school. One of the guys that I was flatmates with was in Rhiannon's class, so we did know, like, we did see each other.
I mean, the Lambda's very small, so you see everyone in what is now, they've had a lovely new building now, but when we were there, it was like a tiny little common room that about 200 people would descend upon. Yeah, we didn't know each other very well. It was only after we left.
We started doing these musical comedy cabarets with friends of ours that ran them, and then it was really that Fringe that where we kind of...
That was where it all went wrong.
Yeah.
So where the name Stiffandkitsch come from?
Everyone asks us this question, and
we should be able to get a good answer by now because we've been asked it probably 15 times. But
it really came from it. Like, we had when we applied for Fringe first, we had nothing. Like, we had no name, no concept, no
comedy.
So we literally had just this deadline. We were trying to come through so many like dumb stuff, and then it was just trying to think of words that we'd been like described as, or I don't know.
We didn't want to be called Rhiannon and Sally because that's really hard to say.
And O'Leary and Needs.
O'Leary and Needs don't work too well.
So yeah, I guess Rhiannon's has always been
I've been
kind
called
of
Kitsch. My stepmum says I have Kitsch corner in my house because it's sort of slightly tasteless items of Kitsch.
And I think I'm stiff because I get joked a lot about how I'm not able to show emotion. It's like the Irish aren't very like outwardly emotional people.
I think actually on stage we probably slightly switch personas. Like, I'm much more the kind of serious, straight one, and you're a bit more kooky.
Yeah.
So
it works on two levels, I guess.
Stiff and Kitsch in all of us.
Is there in the landscape now generally? Is there like a lack of double acts at the moment?
I don't know.
That's
like
interesting.
With musical comedy, particularly, I guess there's quite a few up at the there's
like mainstream wise.
Yeah,
So there's I guess there's like Garfunkel and Oates are a big one in America. Oh, I guess they're
I guess there was like the heyday of Dawn and French and I'm not Dawn French and Saunders. Dawn and French. Dawn and French. That would be.
I know what you meant.
French and Saunders and like Mel and Sue and all of the.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I don't know who's around at the moment. Maybe it's us.
Yeah.
Anton Deck, they're not really comedy. Let's be honest.
That's true, actually. Like a kind of
they could be
presenting double acts.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot up at the Fringe this year. We've been and seen.
I still have I guess you've got Vic and Bob and all that kind of stuff. You still have. They're still good, but they're all again, different. I know, like a.
Morecambe and Wise, but you think of the golden oldies, the originals.
So for those who want to come to Edinburgh for the first time as a visitor, what do I need to know?
A visitor.
I've never been before.
Wow.
Coat.
Pack a big rain jacket.
Don't leak because you will be getting rained on.
Mm-hmm.
I would say book listen, let's see who you have a list of who you want to see, whatever. But I would always leave spare time because you will hear word of mouth is massive.
It is, and you'll turn up and there'll be something that's got real buzz about it, and you'll want to try and get in. That. But also, go and see some really off the wall stuff. Yeah, go and see some free Fringe or.
We saw the other night, because we see so much comedy because all of our friends are in comedy, and because we come from a theatre background, we see a lot of theatre. But we love seeing circus, and we saw cabaret and stuff like that. That we just haven't. That's just got a completely different skill that we have no. We
were just flying for it on the street, and usually you ignore flyers and run for your life. But we got chatting to this girl who was flying for the show. We took it, and it was mad. It was completely wild, but. That's what you want at Fringe. You have to see some stuff that you really wouldn't see anywhere else. You wouldn't take a punt on.
And it has that kind of feeling when you see something you can almost own it, own it a bit.
Yeah.
I didn't discover this act, but I saw this act first at people we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know these people now.
That's it. It is I mean, it's so overwhelming. There's so much on, but I find a good mix. And we all even if somebody like that, if just take one chance of somebody just randomly firing you and be like, I'll just give this a go. And also there's so many companies that the audiences are so small for so many things. I always like going to things that you just because you want everyone to kind of have the chance to have the audience that their show. Yeah. Everyone kind of deserves an audience. and it is hard to get the audience.
Yeah.
So
And also
I would
just
take a chance on things.
lots
Yeah.
of snacks because
Lots of
there's no time to
snacks.
eat and food is expensive.
Yeah.
Delicious, but yeah, in the words of my mum, just like never be without a snack.
Walking shoes, those hills. I would say I've lost a stone since I've been here.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't, but
I've mentioned it on other episodes already. It's a very old Lee Evans joke. If you're going anywhere in Edinburgh, you go up a hill. If
Yeah.
you're coming back, you still go uphill.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
How is
is.
that possible?
It is. It's always.
And for those who want to come to Edinburgh the first time as a performer,
Mm-hmm.
what do they need to know?
I would always say go for it.
Just
because
do it.
Just
Yeah,
do it.
just
Yeah,
do it.
You'll find like a solution to all the problems. I would say just be prepared that it is tough.
It's really hard.
But you'll have good days and you'll have bad days. Like I think whatever level of company or whatever,
Absolutely. Get
you
a
will
team
just
around
have
you,
that.
people that you trust and who
Yeah.
can support you, because it's I think especially hard if you're doing things on your own.
Look at location. I think
Location
a
of
big
your
thing is
venue.
location of venue. I think even if it's
less well-known-
less known venue or not one of the big four, whatever. If it's in a good location, you'll get people in.
You'll get
I think
footfall.
sometimes when they're further out, you just won't get the footfall. I don't think unless people know you or people have heard of it or something.
And I do think sometimes in your first year a catchy name is good.
Yeah.
Because we went, our first show was called Adele is Younger Than Us, and loads of people came to see the show just because they were like, oh, that's a funny name, we quite like that. And then once they've seen you, they know you're on your radar, then that kind of
I would
worked for
also
us.
say see things in your
venue, make
in your
friends with
venue, or make friends with people in your venue, but also see things that are in the same kind of bracket.
Yes,
Because we
yes.
came up our first year and we just saw so much musical comedy, and some of our like closest friends up
Yeah.
here are all the other musical comedians, and when you have that kind of little pool of people, they'll see you, they'll recommend you, and then you've got audiences that come to all the musical comedy acts through just recommendation.
Also, just on a practical sense, get someone to proofread your flyers, because we spelt our own name wrong on our
Right.
first bunch of flyers. Also, just double check the size of posters. We got the wrong size posters
Yeah.
one year, and just double check addresses, because we've had our flyers and posters sent to the wrong address on several occasions. So those are just some
Yeah.
practical things to think about.
And also, I think another one is, which is like less about the show, is like I just think if you're doing it on your own, if you're doing it like a one man or one woman show, to have some sort of support network. Like
Yes.
I just never know how people can do it completely on their own, because it can be such a lonely place up here if things aren't, you can have an amazing fringe or you could have a tough fringe, and if you're on your own, you don't have that kind of just support around you. It can be like a lonely place, and you can talk yourself into like like despair.
But read reviews, although everybody reads reviews, but only people who read reviews are you. The audiences won't.
Yeah.
And be realistic about money, I think, because don't come up thinking, oh, well, if we budget on 90% capacity, you've got a budget on. I mean, to be honest, I don't think we've ever put a budget together, because we're useless. We just go up and go, I guess we're going to lose all this money, but let's hope for the best, and usually it works out all right. But be realistic with that, because there's nothing worse.
How does that sit with people in that if you come here as a performer and you put on a show, knowing full well you make a loss?
Yeah, because lots of companies do, even big names, because PR and stuff costs such a lot. But I guess there's a justification that you're reaching a really wide audience, and it's the place to be. You meet lots of people.
Like before we did it, like my agent always sat down, like asked, they were like, what are your reasons for doing it? And I think, well, I don't know, with any kind of job, a theatre job, people always say that, like, does it pay you? Does it bring you enjoyment, or will it like further your career? And I think if you have two of those, then it's worth doing. If you have one of those, it's probably not.
And I think with the Fringe, you've got to enjoy it.
You've got to enjoy it. You've got to really, really enjoy it, and also it is an amazing place for
meeting people.
It's
just
and
brilliant, and seeing stuff. And if you love the arts, which I think everyone here does, then it's where you want to be. We always talk about taking a year off, and then it gets to the deadline and we're like,
one more year.
we just want to go and be in the mix with everybody. And
definitely don't do it for the money, and I guess expect
no.
to lose the money.
You got to do it for the love of it.
Because there's costs that'll just creep up out of every corner
that you don't notice.
So what's next for Stiffandkitsch?
I don't know. I get through this.
I mean, if we survive the month, maybe a sleep for 2 weeks, and then
we'd like to this year focus on more online stuff.
Yeah,
and getting more like videos or just online stuff out there, just to kind of reach that wider audience.
Absolutely. We're hoping to bring the show back to London, maybe tour a little bit, so that we'll be doing some live stuff. Gigging around, but we want to do some more music videos and even write some kind of short form stuff.
And where can they find this stuff online?
We are at Stiffandkitsch on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you search Stiffandkitsch, you'll probably find us. We have a website.
We have a website, stiffandkitsch.com.
Stiffandkitsch.
We have our last show on Spotify and iTunes and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so so you can stream us.
If you want to listen to that. We'll get this show recorded and up as well at some point in the future. And
generally just find us properly at the bar somewhere in life.
And who are you excited to see yourself this year?
Who are we excited to see?
This year?
We've seen a bunch
already,
because we finish at 3:00. We have quite an evening. It's amazing,
It's mad.
We've seen a lot of our friends. Is kind of you kind of want to get see all your friends. So we've got a lot of musical comedy people that work in musical comedy. We love Harry and Chris, Flo and Joan, all those kind of people.
Yeah.
Our Giants, Good Bear. A lot of the double acts kind of stick together.
My friends saw Good Bear down at the Pleasance 10 Dome.
Yes.
And they said it was superb. And they love that it's actually one of the jokes in their show is now in the top 10 jokes, I think, in the standard.
Yeah.
So that's very good.
Yeah, no, they're really great. Yeah.
They're really lovely boys as well.
We've done a joint flyer with ourselves, Good Bear Giants, and Janine Rooney, just because we are all friends. We all kind of have a similar
vibe to show.
It's hard
to know what to see up at the Fringe. So we're like, if you like this, you might like these, and we've had lots of people kind of coming between all the shows, and that's been really nice.
Yeah, we work a lot with Janine Rooney as well, who's doing her debut stand-up hour. We've seen that. We've seen that about 50 times.
Well, Rhiannon, Sally, Stiffandkitsch.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having us. Cheers.
So thank you to Sally and Rhiannon, Stiffandkitsch. Their show Bricking It is on at the Pleasance Courtyard every day from 2 p.m. all the way up until August the 25th of the Edinburgh Fringe 2019 in Bunker 3. So do book now because they are selling out. And you can find out more about them and their songs and on their social medias at Stiffandkitsch, and or head to stiffandkitsch.com. So, what have we learnt? We've learned that Edinburgh audiences has a touring demographic. Fringe time is different to normal time. Let your audiences take away your message. Literally, we want badges, people. Plan ahead, but don't overplan, and do seek out similar shows. Get a support network and have a good show name. Money is nothing, but location is everything. It's tough, so be big, be silly, and be yourself. Oh, and bring a coat.